Hello, my friends. This is Janet Kadow, and you're listening to my newly revamped name for the podcast, Janet Kadow and Spirit. It has gone from meditations and channeling with White Eagle to now it's whatever, because I am finding that I cannot utilize the recordings in a consistent way when it comes to working with spirit. You really have to kind of flow with it. When you ask spirit to basically, when you ask spirit to work with you, you're really allowing spirit to guide the energy, the direction of how things go. And when you're doing it as a day job, it can be a little bit annoying to not, for somebody like me. It's very difficult to flow with it and not be consistent and structured and all that stuff. So I apologize for the many changes. Today they want to talk about intent and working with the sacred law of love. So we're not going to do a meditation on this recording today. We are doing our February, Fridays in February meditations on Google Meet. And those are free offerings for anybody who would like to join. I'll put the link in the description here on my Substack. So if you search at Janet on substack.com, you'll see the recording there of today's recording, and you'll also be able to click the link for the Google Meet, which will be at 10 a.m. Pacific time and 1 p.m. Eastern time. And it's a live gathering, and we do a recording or a meditation that is given to us from spirit. So again, we're kind of following along what the energy is, what serves our purpose in the moment, and what supports the people who come to the meditation. So that's that. I tried to record last time the meditation and it didn't record, so it was only for that group in that moment, and sometimes that happens. So if you want to see what Spirit has to offer you in the forms of healing and ways to manifest, and even just to get some really great juju from Spirit, I recommend the Fridays in February. It's listed on my Facebook, but obviously you don't have to go to Facebook. You can go to Substack and see the link. That's an open link. So just click the link on the time of the meditations and join in. I do close the group after a few minutes after we start, so be on time. Okay, so today they wanted to talk a little bit about intention. And, it sounds kind of like a boring topic, but it's really interesting to me because whatever your reason for doing something truly influences what you get out of it. So let's talk about intent and the law of love. So when we do something out of love, our reason for doing it is because we love to do it, or we love to do something for someone else, or we love someone else and we want to do it out of that very pure intention. It is, how can I say, extra powerful. It will come back to you tenfold. It will bless your life. So if you give someone something out of love with no expectation or need for return, no desire for a return, even a hidden desire for a return. I mean, we can love someone with our whole being, but if they don't love us back, we can feel cheated, betrayed, upset, all that stuff. So our intention flavors the energy that we receive out of the action. So when we do something out of love, it is like watering a plant. It is not just watering the plant, I should say, adding fertilizer and sunshine and tending to it. It grows in a healthy, joyful way when we do something out of love. When we do something that's not out of love, but that's still, more a neutral energy, like we go to work because we want money, it's not neither love nor a negative energy necessarily, then that's okay. The plant will still grow. When we do something out of any kind of lower level vibrational frequency, as they say, when it's for a negative reason, guilt, when we do something out of guilt, when we do something out of fear, when we do something out of revenge, when we do something out of from a wounded ego state, like we want status over another person, then that creates a negative outcome for us. It turns toxic. So if we're becoming, if we go to law school because our parents insisted we go to law school and we're only doing it out of guilt, because if we don't do it, or we'll feel guilty that we let our parents down, then that the whole career path is now on a toxic trajectory. It won't be supportive of your life. It won't be joyful. It won't be, grow in a healthy way. Instead, it'll most likely be stagnant at best, or at worst, cause many difficulties in your life. So you want to evaluate why you are doing what you're doing, whether it's calling your mother back from that to, what career you choose or spouse you choose. You want to make sure that what you're doing is out of love. So let's talk about something simple so you can see what I mean. Let's go back to calling your mother back. So sometimes we call back, or if you have a difficult relationship with your mother, or a difficult relationship with someone you care about in your family, and you call them back because you'd feel guilty if you didn't, and that's your motivation for returning the call, then that conversation will not go well. It will just feed into the toxic energy of the relationship. So if your relationship is, dysfunctional, on the graph from difficult to dysfunctional to fully on toxic, you're feeding it when you respond because of a negative energy. So if you're responding to negative energy, like, your mother is upset because you haven't called her back, and she's complaining and making you feel guilty because you haven't called her back, so you call her back, and now you're doing it out of guilt. It just feeds that cycle of toxicity in the relationship. But if you waited, and if you evaluated why you're calling her back, and you sit with it and you think, okay, I want to call her back because I feel guilty. She's making me feel like a bad daughter or whatever. And I better call her back because I just don't want to hear it. But if you wait and you sit and you say, okay, Now then, I want to call her back, but how can I change the energy from calling her back out of guilt versus calling her back out of love? So you'd start with asking yourself, do I love my mother? And if the answer is yes, then you move on to the next step. So then you would ask yourself, how can I call her back because I love her and not because she made me feel guilty? So you'd sit with that for a while and see if you can feel love for your mother before you call her back. And if you can't, you wait until you can. So if let's say you're in the middle of a fight with her or whatever, and you're still angry, you would wait to call until you could call out of love, because you joyfully love her and you want to speak with her. Now, I know there's a lot of gray areas here, but this is an example of how to change dysfunctional relationships, and also how to change the intent behind all the things that you're doing. So if you're doing something for someone else because you have to, or they'll be angry if you don't, then wait until you can do it out of generosity. Wait until you can do it out of a feeling of kindness. And that will shift and create healing in your relationships. Now you can do the same for your work. You're going to work for money. Let's face facts. No matter what your job is, one of the intentions is to make money. And so when you say, okay, but it's just a Joe job. I really don't like the job. I really hate the job. I don't want to spend all my time there, that kind of stuff. Then ask yourself, what do you love about the job? Well, you love getting a paycheck. That's good. And ask yourself, though, what else you love about it. Do you love the time in the car you have to yourself? Or do you love the people you work with? Or do you love whatever else it is? And if the answer is no, 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 then you need to change jobs, obviously, because you really should be doing something you can at least find an aspect of that you love. What do you love about your job? Aside from the paycheck, because the paycheck is the neutral space. It's great to have a paycheck, but it's also a neutral space. So you're not doing it, so it doesn't, it waters the plant, but the plant doesn't flourish. The plant doesn't grow. It's not fertilized. It's not getting all the tending that it needs. It's just growing. But when you add, I love everything about this, then it flourishes and grows. And that's what they say, do what you love and the rest will follow. Well, I think there's a lot more to it than that personally. But I do think doing what you love adds to an extraordinary experience of what you receive out of it. Because we can also do what we love and fear not being successful. We can also do what we love and, feel guilty about doing what we love. There can be negative emotions attached to our feelings of love. So pay attention to those as well, and make sure, though, that if we're feeling guilt or worry or fear over doing something out of love, just sort of wait to see the result and then take the next step. Like if you have to wait to call your mom to get into the energy of love for your mom, wait. And there may be blowback for waiting. She may be upset that you're waiting to call her, But she doesn't know why because you're not going to share why. And so that may be frustrating for her. But as you show up in that pure energy of love without any other motivation behind it, you're going to find your relationship shifts and it becomes a positive relationship. And she stops using guilt or trying to use guilt to manipulate you. So when we're not doing things out of love, we can be manipulated quite easily. That is one of my little pet peeves is people who weaponize empathy. And it's pretty common. It's all over the place. So they want you to feel sorry for them so that you'll do something for them. So they're saying, I feel, I have these terrible things in my life. Help me, help me, help me. Or do this for me. And if you don't do this for me, you're not a nice person. I thought you had empathy. I thought you had compassion. Those kinds of statements and energy can really mess with you. So I find if I'm feeling at all any kind of tinge of guilt or manipulation, or, somebody is weaponizing empathy, that it really kind of pisses me off. So from the person, the addict who's asking for money, they can do that. They can try to manipulate you into giving them money. And from the, your boss who's like, well, I thought you were a good worker. If you don't show up on Saturday and work 12 hours, then you're not a good worker. I thought you were a good person. I thought you cared about people, that kind of stuff. They're asking you to lower your boundaries and even create a susceptible, they're making you susceptible to their manipulation through guilt and weaponizing empathy. So pay attention to that too. If you're really aware and pay attention to your motivations and work through that lens of love, and love requires nothing in return. And love is not judgmental. And love has no fear. Love is a power that is the power that generates energy in this world. Everything else that is not love is detrimental to the world. There are neutral energies, like I spoke of, but if it's not love, it's not powering your future in the highest potential you can reach. So do focus as best you can, as often as you can, on doing things out of love. And try not to judge yourself when you're doing something not out of love. Like if you cave and call the mom back when you're still in the guilt phase, or, you try to please your boss just to get him off your back, that kind of stuff. That's all fine. Don't judge yourself, because judgment will actually be more toxic to you. So you want to focus on love. You want to bring more and more aspects of your life fueled by the energy and intention of love, with those energies behind them. Don't do anything for return. Don't do anything for any other motivation. If you can get there, then your future is very bright indeed. Thank you so much for listening. Again, this is Janet Kadow, You can find my webpage, janetkadow.com, JanetKadow.com. You can find this and all my articles and so forth on Substack. Just search at Janet on Substack and you'll find my offerings there. And you can always search me on most social media sites at JanetKadow. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, everybody. We're following along with Spirit's guidance, so hopefully I'll be back soon. We'll see, but I will definitely be on doing the meditation on Friday. Find the link to our meditations on Facebook or on Substack. And I look forward to you joining me there. Take care, everybody.